Alabama has an elephant. Many of these mascots don't make sense. I like the elephant. Kind of, it's unique. You know, I don't know what it has to do with the Crimson Tide, but
Elephants
I've always
and
met
waves, Brad. That's what we associate Alabama with.
Well, an elephant is my favorite animal, by the way. That's
you know what we associate Indiana with, Brad? We associate it with ponds. D'Angelo Ponds,
like Lake Monroe, D'Angelo
Ponds is being named as a cornerback to watch for the 2026 draft. There was actually a Pro Football Focus, I think, Instagram post that went out the other day that was listing all these guys out, and they had D'Angelo's picture up, and boom, 2-star recruit D'Angelo Ponds. First of all, evaluators swing and a miss. That's why Signetti will tell you day after day, stars don't matter. You look at two of the best players on Indiana's team right now, regardless of age. It's D'Angelo Ponds and Ro Hardy, combined 2 stars between the two of them. So it's funny to see somebody's going to look at that and be like, yeah, that's D'Angelo Ponds guy, 2-star recruit. But it's you actually turn on the film and watch this guy play and watch him just absolutely lock people down. It's yeah, he's going to be he should be a first-round NFL draft pick. We'll see what ends up happening. But it's
yeah, we'll see with the size. He's definitely going to get knocked for being 5'9", but in terms of the way the game is going, it's becoming less and less of a factor. It's more about it's becoming a speed is probably the most important factor when it comes to evaluating defense these days. So, he has that. I know he got burned by Jeremiah Love, but that guy's a top 15 pick.
I've
seen enough mocks I'd be shocked if D'Angelo Ponds is still waiting to hear his name called past day 2. I'd be shocked, and I'm gonna stand by that. May 20th. Yeah, he's going first 2 days, no doubt about it. It's just a matter of where. Hopefully, he gets in a good situation, and rooting for him. But obviously, we got to focus on the task at hand, which is winning a Big Ten title this year and playing in the national championship game, playing 17 games this year.
You sent me Big Ten over unders. We're gonna speed run those in a second, but I want to shelve that. I want to shelve that for a little bit. I want to get through the smoke. NFL guys, Rourke, West, both signed with San Francisco. Those guys are, pretty, standard procedure at this point. Obviously, you're getting drafted, you're going to sign with the team, but it's cool to see those guys officially sign contracts and they're all systems go on that front.
Exciting. Purdy got his bag.
Purdy did. Purdy got paid. And I honestly, I don't think this is worst case scenario for Curtis Rourke. Now he just gets to get healthy, figure out his role, figure out how to be an NFL quarterback, and regardless of whether or not he gets an opportunity with San Francisco, this is a guy that's probably going to work his way into an opportunity. And if you're going to pick a spot to just learn how to play quarterback in the NFL, he's in the perfect spot.
I've always evaluated Rourke as a 10-year NFL vet in a backup role. He has to beat out Tanner Mordecai to make the team this year. I think he's going to get that done. I'm blanking on who the backup. Oh, it's Mac Jones. They brought in Mac Jones. So he's really just going to be competing with Mac Jones throughout this season this year, learning from Mac Jones and just seeing, where he can, find his own. And he's going to be that third quarterback on the roster. So we'll see. Always going to root for him. Maybe he gets in a game this year. How exciting would that be? That'd be awesome. That would be a hell of an episode this week. That week, if he gets his name called to start for the Niners. It's a great system to start your career in. You look at what it did for Sam Darnold way back in the day. People forget Sam Darnold was the Niners backup before he went to the Minnesota Vikings and tore it up.
Jaguars legend C.J. Beathard could have won a Super Bowl there.
Beathard looked so good when he was in the Niners. So learning from one Shanahan to another, no relation, just two different Shanahan families that have very good offensive philosophies. And Rourke's going to learn how to be a pro, and that's going to be the key. It's really about the meeting rooms more so than the field work for him, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he's going to crush there. That's where he's going to dominate. So
yeah.
How about this? From Shanahan to Shanahan, from one Hoosier quarterback to another, Fernando Mendoza, they released the Big Ten Heisman odds for who had the best odds for each team. Yeah. Did you see it? Do you know where Mendoza ranked?
I believe I quote tweeted it, and I said something to the likes of, I think it speaks volumes to where he's the 4th highest odds on this list, with all this noise around Illinois and all this noise around other teams like Michigan and Bryce Underwood. He is the 4th highest odds behind Drew Aller, Penn State, Dante Moore, who's obviously got pretty good odds from Oregon, considering they've had two different quarterback finalists the last 2 years. So obviously the odds are going to lean in his favor. People who know I'm a little sheepish. Sheepish, is that a good word for that? A little skeptical about Dante Moore and his ability. Do I see him as equal to Bo Nix
Sheepish
and
was a
Joe
good word.
Gabriel? No, but he's definitely in a great system with Evan Stewart.
I like sheepish there.
Yeah, a little sheepish. And then Jeremiah Smith, obviously, I think that guy's gonna win the Heisman. He might win back-to-back Heismans. That dude's a dog. He's gonna make it real easy on Julian Sane, and it's gonna make him look good.
They just picked up a quarterback too. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, they picked up some D3 guy today. That was interesting.
Yeah.
Houston Baptist kid who didn't really get a whole lot of ticks, so they must have just really liked the kid, which is
felt
cool.
A little uncomfortable about the depth in the room. I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah, maybe
had
Julian Sane's throwing ducks out there. Oh, maybe master the eye test strikes again. He's calling it. I mean, whenever I watch Julian Sane, I'm not calling him a bad quarterback. I think he's a starter at college, like for sure. Is he
Mendoza,
all league? I don't know. I don't think so.
I had Mendoza as the fifth best odds in the conference.
He just reminds me too much of Miller Moss. He's got the accuracy. He's a little small, but super accurate, decisive. But does that make him a superstar? Doesn't make him Penix or doesn't make him an NFL quarterback, you know? Like Luke Altmaier, like great quarterback, solid in his like 5th year or whatever with Illinois. I don't know if he's gonna get drafted. I mean, he's probably gonna get a shot. He's probably gonna be on a 90 man, but like I still call him top 3 quarterback in the Big Ten right now. Does that mean I think he's gonna have a great NFL career? No. I just think I would just take him over a lot of guys in this league right now, but doesn't mean he has NFL talent. You know, it's one of those situations. You know, it's a completely different league.
Yeah, 100%. But Mendoza plus 5,000 for Heisman. So if you're feeling frisky and you want to take a chance on something,
I'm feeling frisky.
Like those are crazy.
100 to win $5,000. Mendoza to win the Heisman. Whew. Man.
Brad, opposing fan bases just can't help themselves. Anytime Sig speaks or goes to a mic or something, you usually have the Notre Dame fan, the Iowa fan, somebody else like making a comment about Signetti. And there was a lot. Hoosier Comrade was the one that I saw that made me laugh out loud, so I'll shout him out. But he was like something along the lines of like, I'm not going out of my way to watch Marcus Freeman interviews, to this like paragraph about Kurt Signetti from a Notre Dame fan. It's like that is exactly the point. The guy's a lightning rod. Like when he speaks, you look regardless of who you root for. And that's a superpower and a huge advantage for Indiana, is like, regardless of the brand Indiana football had before he got here, when that dude opens his mouth, people listen. I mean, recruits, coaches, pundits, but like when he talks, like, trust me when I tell you, like, the 5 stars are listening, regardless of if they're going to have those conversations yet. But like, jumping ahead a little in my notes, like that Coach Ola Adams was out in Arizona this week, and you know he's offered a 5-star in the class of 27. So it's like there are believers out there, man, and it's not great.
Notre Dame fans are one of those believers. I mean, if you're going out of your way to watch an opposing coach press conference, like I don't even watch my own head coach's press conference, let alone someone else's. So the fact that you're going out of your way to watch Signetti and writing paragraphs about it, talking about how he's not great, makes me think that you actually think that he's probably great, and you're a little scared about it because he was able to make it a 10-point game in Notre Dame in his first year there with Tom Allen guys for the most part. I mean, yeah, he brought in a ton of, like, he brought in James Madison transfers and was able to go to the playoff. Like, those guys were playing Sun Belt ball. Wait till he gets guys that come from Maryland or Pitt or Cal or Tennessee. Wait till he gets like transfers from those schools. What is that team going to do? And if you guys didn't pick up on what I'm doing, I just named schools that we literally picked up guys to play on our team for next year. So yeah, I think Notre Dame fans are a little scared than what they're putting on, and it's very telling when it's May and they're talking about how much Indiana and Signetti are annoying. It's like, no, they're just doing the press tour, like the typical stuff. You know, it's like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I think they're actually like, they probably I don't know. It's
Well,
makes
PK's
you
right.
think. Makes you think. Like, how do they really feel? You know,
Signetti's
they're
polarizing.
insecure. Like, that's a sign of insecurity. It
Yes, it
really
is.
is. Like
I agree.
belittling other people in general. Like, right. So the fact that they keep doing it, and it's May, like we should be talking about baseball right now, and they're talking
Well,
about.
I'll take this time to acknowledge John's point. Everyone hates a winner. They hate the Yankees too. Well, I agree, but I also hate the Yankees. So
Yeah, I hate the Yankees too. Go Dodgers.
go Sox.
The Yankees lose.
Speaking of winning in May, Brad, Davion Chandler, finalist for Marion County Athlete of the Year. Shout out to Davion Chandler. He'll be, or he's got to be on campus already, I guess now, and he'll be there for fall camp.
Is he not going to win Gatorade? Like, is there an Indiana State Athlete of the Year? Because I feel like he'd be up for that as well, just being the caliber of football player he is and the type of season he had in track this year, being a state champion in the hurdles. So I feel like he would have, if there's an award for that, I feel like he's going to win that Marion County. He did win that, right?
No, I think he's a finalist.
Finalist? Well, he's going to win that. I'd be shocked.
He should win that.
I'd be shocked. I feel like for an athlete like him, he should be striving for like Gatorade State Athlete of the Year, if that exists, something like that.
Doesn't it exist? I swear that exists for every state. Somebody in Indiana is going to have to fill us in. Another Hoosier who's been on campus for the spring, but Hollywood Bell, I believe it was his father tweeted out a picture of his state championship ring that they got. That thing was iced out. Hollywood Bell ends his high school career with a state title, coming in to inject some youth and some much needed energy into the Indiana secondary. I'm super pumped to watch him this year.
He's just adding fuel to the fire. It's not needed. It's just
I think juice is needed everywhere.
We just have Hollywood Bell just waiting around. He's probably not going to play for a couple of years, and he's just super talented.
I don't know,
kid,
man. Like that's just
guy. We keep having the same conversation about the DBs. Like we're so loaded on the front end. It's just going to be hard for these talented young guys to get tick. And
God, there's so many of them.
They're going to have to find roles, and it kind of makes me scared about the portal next year. But I think
I don't think so because they're like because if you think about it, like Pons is going to have an awesome year. Then he goes right. Like they have Jamari Sharp, is he a junior or a senior? I believe he's a senior, right?
Sharp has to be a senior by now. Yeah.
Like he was a Tom Allen guy. So like they're going to be like Amari Farrell is like, hopefully you can hold on to that kid for another year, but he's probably gone. Like Lewis Moore is going to age out. Like there's going to be spots that open up on the secondary. Like, so I'm not crazy worried about all these guys hopping in the portal, especially the ones that are probably going to contribute this year, at least in some shape, or form, whether it's special teams, whether it's in the second or third units when we're destroying people. But yeah, I think a lot of these guys are really bought in and understand the track they're on, where it's like, okay, year one, maybe I'm not going to play a ton. Year two, I'll probably play a little bit more, but that's how you look at these football factories. Like that's how this works. 1, 2, 3, and boom. 1, 2, 3, 4, boom. And so like, yeah, you want to load the chamber with guys that are insanely talented. Like somebody like Hollywood Bell probably goes to a school in a lesser conference and starts as a freshman. You know what I mean? So it's like to have a type of kid like that, like him and Byron Baldwin Jr. and Cianta Stewart are all in the same class, all in the same defensive backfield, and Zachary Smith. Like all these guys are the same age, can grow together, and it's like that's the super exciting part.
Yeah, I think obviously I'm not in the room, but I think what Signetti does really well is I think he has kids that understand, like you said, the track that they're on, right? Like when you look at the guys that left Indiana for the portal, it wasn't anyone that they're all older guys besides like Josh Philistine, who probably realized he's not as good as Dontre Henderson and ended up going somewhere smaller. And they're just guys that just weren't going to ever really contribute for Indiana. And that's just the reality of the situation. I guess what I'm surprised about is besides like bringing in Brady Daly and Wyatt, I haven't really seen too much.
Yeah, I know. And we're coming up on a dead period.
I feel like we have like 5 scholarships open, and it's just a little surprising. I'm not concerned by any means because I think if we run this team out right now, I think we win 10 games, no doubt in my mind. But it would be nice to, add some more luxuries to this team, and we'll see what happens down the line. I think you mentioned on last week's pod linebacker depth, right? Like we love Hardy and Isaiah Bones-Jones. We think they can start for this team next year. why not bring in another guy? You know, like when you have the room, you have the room, but they're not going to bring in anyone that they think can mess up the culture. So if anything, it's kind of a good thing, so they can bring in a bigger freshman class for next year, have spots available in the portal next year, things like that. And they're not gonna waste scholarships. They're not just gonna give a scholarship to a Dallas James type just to fill a hole, you know. And I like that, you know. I like that they don't do that.
No need for
But,
Dallas James to catch a stray.
oh, he's getting strays all day. Trust me. That was one of the worst scholarship decisions I've ever seen in my 26 years of watching sports. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. That's whatever. But I stand by it. I stand by it. Maybe a little harsh, but I just don't think he was Big Ten quality. I'm sorry. He's just not. He was 7 feet, so maybe helped in practice.
Here's something that I did do though, Brad. I figured out TikTok edits, and I'm getting better by the day.
Big time.
So the Omar Cooper Jr. Mossing Tour, obviously 2025 coming to a city near you. But go check out the Sigs Inside Pod TikTok page. I'm working my way up in the edits game, so expect to see some really exciting Indiana content on a platform that there's not really content on. So I'm excited to kind of explore that. But there is content on Twitter, Brad, and I don't know if you were able to read the whole Big Ten huddle post that you retweeted. I believe it copped a retweet from Signetti too. But it was one of the first times where, not the first time, but a bigger outlet, and this isn't a national outlet, but it's somebody with a decent following on Twitter, basically sticking their neck out there and like putting their foot down, be like, no, this Indiana football team's gonna be good, and here's why, and it's for the same reasons me and you have been just screaming, and any Indiana fan has been screaming for the last 6 months, is like, if you take away the bias and you just look at the football activities going on here in the last 18 months, like it's just it operates like a high level football program does. And so it's cool to start seeing these like different accounts come out and not just like hammering down the team or trying to get clicks, but with like an actual legit analysis on like why this team can be good.
Yeah, I really appreciated Big Ten Huddle's post. I think they have a huge voice in the Midwest, and I think they did a good job educating, you know, what we've been saying basically since February about where this team is at, and it's not what the national media is telling you. I think Joel Klatt's hip to what's going on. He sees us as a top 15 lock, a CFP contender, and you know that's how this team should be viewed. And I like, you know, I'll say it again, I like that we're under the radar. I'm going to enjoy it while it lasts, because when we win 10 games this year, it won't be the case next year.
Well, I'm going to say like
but if
they are under the radar somehow, but like somebody said this, and again, I got to start really pulling these tweets, but like there was a Pete Thamel article about Indiana specifically about not being a one-hit wonder, and for that to come out in May to get national media attention in May about Indiana football, like obviously it makes sense given the year they had and given Signetti, but for Indiana fans, this is all still so new that like, again, it's like the opposing fans that think they're insulting us. Like there was an Iowa shit post that went out that was like Indiana's gonna be 7-5, and the entire response was like, I can't believe I'm disappointed at 7-5. Like this would like be the third best season in school history. You know what I mean? So it's but no, there was the Pete Thamel article I thought was interesting. He used some interesting word choices. Obviously, the coaching staff was super fired up about it. I believe all of them retweeted it. And obviously, when you're getting national attention like that, but he called the non-con schedule Charmin Ultra Soft or Puffs Plus Lotion or something like that. Which, like, all right, buddy, like I'll battle the non-con BS until I run out of breath, because it's like they're playing 9 Big Ten games. They're playing 3 consensus top 10 teams in the country in the first 8 weeks of the season. Like I don't need to hear any of that garbage.
Yeah, 100%. And kind of echoing kind of what we've been saying, even like we all know pessimistic Indiana fans, right? Like we've gone through the mud in terms of having been really relevant in basketball for 25 years. You know, Indiana football, obviously, like most losses in D1 history. And basically those types of Indiana fans will never, you know, the idea that they'll just never take Indiana seriously, and or football wise for sure. And they'll just go back to what they were. And there's definitely Indiana fans like that. But then once you realize, 3 All-Americans back on defense, brought in a top 3 quarterback in the transfer portal bring back 3 starters on the O-line, all of a sudden bring back Omar Cooper and Sarab. Once you just think of those things, not even like the rest of the pieces that we have, just those blanket, bullet points, you're like, oh, like, yeah, this team could totally win 8 or 9, 10 games next year. And like, I'm bought in. Like, I have roommates that are just like that. They've been lifelong Indiana fans, and Indiana football is just, an afterthought. But, he told me on the way back to golf, it's like, this is the first time I've ever been really excited about Indiana football. And, because even throughout the year, last year, it's like, I know we're on a hot streak, but I know reality is going to set in at some point. And it did. But the reality is they won 11 games and lost to the 2 teams that played in the national title game. And they're bringing back 3 All-Americans, everything I just said, Surratt, Coop, Mendoza, 3 starters on the O-line coming back. And you just got to think, you don't have to think too hard to realize, oh, they're contenders still. They might even be better than they were last year.
100%. And last year, I believe they opened up, like the opening line was, I think, 21.5 or something, and it climbed to like 28 or something like that. They released the opening lines for week 1. Do you want to guess the line? Did you see it?
Our line for week 1 against
Indiana versus ODU.
Old Dominion?
Mm-hmm.
37.5.
That's what it should be. No, it's 23.5, and that's going to get hammered way up. But yeah,
if you're,
God. Again,
I'm 2 touchdowns off.
If you're a Shark, yeah, no, hop all over that, because I was thinking the same thing. Like, this is a game they're probably going to win by 50.
Yeah. Yeah, you think Sean Asbury's there and Terry Jones? They'll be at that game.
That'd be
sure.
cool. They should be.
I mean, if they're not on rosters, they'll be there.
And then the last thing I have for football before we jump into these over-unders, then there's a couple basketball things I wanted to touch on, and then I want to get on kind of what I wrote about this week for vocfb.com.
Gotcha.
But Indiana's recruiting footprint is expanding. Like I said earlier, Coach Ola Adams was out in Arizona. Me and you talked about the footprint over the last 2 classes kind of being very, like, not localized, but very familiar.
Yeah, like very DMV, very
it was very much
Midwest,
the JMU
DMV,
pipeline, and then it was like
South.
the 4-hour radius that Sig talked about, whereas you're into Ohio, you're into Illinois, you're into Kentucky, and then obviously in Indiana. We're starting to see, like, there was a kid from Bishop Gorman that flashed up a couple weeks ago. Like, they're going after Luke Fahey, who's a Mission Viejo kid. Like, that's, you can't get more West Coast than that.
Shout out Mark Sanchez.
Yeah. So it's really cool to see both the recruiting footprint of this team expand in real time, and to do so with really no changes to the coaching staff. That's the impressive part too.
Yeah, they're just doing it. They're just doing the damn thing. I think one of my first, back when we were Six Inside, I would always go on tangents about how I dream that we can, really attack the West Coast and get those athletes. Because, in my opinion, I know people will tell me, Texas, Florida, Georgia, like that's where the best football players play. On the outside and quarterback wise, it's all in California. I'm telling you. Just think of the guys: Drake London, Amon-Ra St. Brown. I mean, there's a few others that I'm missing. I mean, Jared Goff, CJ Stroud, Bryce Young. I mean, all those kids, just SoCal. That's not even NorCal. That's just
and you know where
part of the state. Wait till they attack that whole Pacific Ocean strip. Tons of talent out there. Arizona is one of those places. Tons of football talent. Lots of.
Well, they're also, where else they're at, Brad. And this happened a couple weeks ago, but I think it happened in that gap where we didn't really have a chance to talk about it. But they're getting into those North Jersey power schools too. There's a conference of North Jersey Catholic schools that is like an epicenter of talent in the country. Like, they're sending like Alabama, Michigan, Big Ten, SEC, like power schools left and right, Oregon. Like, Indiana is now in there offering kids in the class of, I don't know if it was 26, but 27 and in that range. And like, obviously I grew up in New Jersey. So like, just seeing some of the schools that those kids were from, it's like Don Bosco and, these are like St. Joe's, Metuchen, and like, these are like really, really highly thought of football programs that, like, the East Coast version of these West Coast power schools, there's just not as many of them.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, I think it's a lot more fruitful in SoCal. I mean, we talk about, I just wanted to bring up an example. Servite High School. They play in Trinity League, which is the best league in the country. We're talking Servite High, Orange Lutheran, Mater Dei, and St. John Bosco, who year in and year out, those two schools are in the top 5 in the country. And Servite High just had 2 top 10 picks in the draft, Tet McMillan and Mason Graham. They both were teammates in high school with Noah Fafita at quarterback. You'd think that team won league. No, they probably went like 8-4 or whatever. They probably went 500 in Trinity League because they had to deal with Mater Dei and St. John Bosco, every year. So the talent is insane in SoCal, and to be able to attack that, start maybe being able to attack the West Coast is only going to help this school, especially, being in the Big Ten comes with the advantages of being the coast to coast conference and being able to have a national footprint where it's not just in the SEC, it's just the South. I don't know too many kids that, grow up dreaming. Obviously Bama is a different story, but like not many kids in California grow up dreaming of going to A&M and LSU. They just don't. They don't. They dream of playing for Oregon, UCLA, USC, and now seeing this Big Ten exposure, Ohio State and Michigan just won the last 2 national titles. I mean, these kids are dreaming of playing in the Big Ten and playing with the big dogs. So once again, not just huge for Indiana, but huge for Big Ten dominance, which we are a big pro Big Ten pod. And it's only going to help Indiana as the conference continues to assert dominance and dominate national recruiting. So